One candle away from yanking out of here. I'd say I'm close enough.
Does this mean you're not making me breakfast in the morning? I'd say you're a couple inches off. But still, man.
Not if you drop the gun.
I'm not the bad guy.
I don't believe in good guys.
Serena?
We just met.
You're willing to kill. Just to keep that from
I like the odds.
Sneaks up on you. Always has to. Really conscious. Really. Driving around. And all I can hear myself think is to about a drought in Australia. About skateboards and swimming. About a man named Santa Cage.
Oh shit.
I heard he was dead.
sample.
Us working as a team. That's what Billings would have wanted. That's what we can do is talk to each other.
My programs within the next 24 hours. Because what I'll do it for you. There are 30,000 satellites orbiting the Earth at this moment. And we'll drop one satellite every 24 hours until my demands are met.
Eyewitnesses in Moscow.
Was this always part of the mission too?
Of course not. We were a new XXX team Gibbons created. We discovered a high-level intelligence officer was trying to manipulate satellites. And even before we could unmask him, Gibbons was killed.
So you knew they were XXX all along.
I needed you to retain a sense of objectivity.
I don't understand. If I destroyed Pandora's box, what happened in Moscow?
If I'm right, which I am, this box only ever had the ability to control one satellite.
What does that mean?
It means they've been chasing a prototype.
Top left. I'm sure there's someone who knows it. She's on the side of the only person in it for 10 years.
You know, traffic signals were invented by big oil to waste fuel and drive up profits.
Is this the parking lot that Institute? Tell me whether I or nobody wants us walking to me.
Good luck. There it is. You want in the kennel? No. You know it's good in Thursday.
Shit, he's trying to reconnect it, guys. I can only jam the signal for so long before it chooses another satellite. You have to hurry.
I have a plan. Hold on!
They say it's the last great adventure, Cage. Be sure and send a postcard.
Engine's hot. Where do we pitch it now?
Mark's got Pandora's box. He's gonna drop a satellite on top of you.
He's gonna drop a satellite on us! Not if I share the signal! I need a power source! Oh, over there? Where are we going? You can listen to things.
This trash just literally eats garbage right out of your hand. I own a laser machine and want to avoid wasting materials into the next project. Avoid maybe some jelly rolls and it's so easy to There's a bunch more videos coming out of me. headquarters and the main community shelter. Frost crept across the inside of windows, and the air inside municipal buildings grew colder with each passing night. Outside, the temperature hovered well below freezing. Inside the shelter, families wrapped themselves in layers of clothing and blankets, trying to keep warm on cots lined up wall to wall. The shelter coordinator moved between rooms, checking on seniors and young children, her breath visible in the chill. The building's emergency lights had faded to darkness, and the only sound was the muffled wind and the quiet shudders of those waiting for news. City Hall, usually the hub for was now just as cold and powerless as the rest of the town. Mayor stood by a darkened window, looking out on silent streets. He knew the town's options were running out. The grid was down for blocks in every direction, and word from Hydro Quebec was that repairs could take days, maybe longer. The backup generators, meant for hours, not days, were running low on fuel and capacity. The shelter's coordinator reported that temperatures inside had dropped to the low teens degrees Celsius, barely above the danger zone for hypothermia. There was nowhere else to send people. Every other building was just as cold, and the roads were slick with ice. The risk wasn't just discomfort, it was real harm. For the mayor and his team, the threat was immediate and unforgiving. People's safety depended on finding power, somehow, before the cold claimed more than just comfort. That urgency forced a question few had ever considered. What could possibly bring heat and light back to a frozen town when the grid itself had failed? A freight locomotive is not just a heavy machine built to pull trains. At its heart, it is a rolling power station. The MLW M420, like the one Canadian National sent to Boucherville, is rated at about 2,000 horsepower. But the way it delivers that power is what sets it apart. Instead of using the diesel engine to drive the wheels directly, the engine spins a main alternator, a generator with enormous electrical motors. That alternator produces three-phase electricity, which is then routed to traction motors on each axle. Every time a locomotive moves, it is transforming fuel into electricity, then into motion. This design is not just about moving freight. It means the locomotive can create a steady stream of electrical power, independent of the grid. In normal operation, most of that energy is used to move thousands of tons of cargo. But under the right conditions, with the right connections, the same system can supply electricity to buildings, lights, and heating systems, just like a stationary generator. When the mayor of Boucherville weighed his options, this was not a wild gamble. The engineering behind a diesel-electric locomotive made the idea possible. The MLW M420's main alternator, driven by its V12 diesel engine, was built to handle loads far larger than any single building would demand. In the middle of a blackout, with the town's safety on the line, a freight engine offered something few other machines could: reliable, high-capacity power, ready to be tapped where a heavy lift could take it. Calls to Hydro Quebec brought only grim updates. Repairs would take days, maybe longer. Faced with a deepening crisis, the mayor placed an urgent call to the Canadian National Railways Operations Desk. The request was simple in words, but staggering in implication. Could Canadian National supply a locomotive to serve as an emergency generator for the town's core? The dispatcher on duty, accustomed to rerouting freight and troubleshooting line blockages, paused. No one at Canadian National could recall a precedent for using a mainline locomotive to power a municipality. Within minutes, the question traveled up the chain of command. Risk managers, engineers, and legal staff weighed in. Safety was the first concern because connecting a locomotive to a municipal grid meant isolating damaged lines, preventing backfeed, and protecting crews in the field. Liability loomed large. What if something failed? What if a misstep sent power down a line being repaired or overloaded aging equipment in a darkened city hall? The railway's legal team raised questions about insurance, property damage, and the possibility of injuring workers or residents. Despite the uncertainty, the urgency in Boucherville was impossible to ignore. The mayor pressed his case. Municipal buildings were losing heat, shelters were at their limits, and backup generators were running on fumes. Canadian national leadership, after a rapid round of calls and consultations, decided the humanitarian need outweighed the risks. With a cautious green light, the dispatcher relayed the decision back to but only under strict safety.
So this looks like more like a little man than a dog right now. Wait, so do you think in the future that we'll all have robot dogs? Yes. What kind of future do you feel like we need to prepare for? I think climate.
I just want to be prepared in case the blackout happens.
At some point, we're going to go beyond that. Is there going to be a stock market on dogs?
And with municipal restoration at every step. For the first time, a Canadian mainline locomotive would be repurposed as a lifeline for an entire town. Guided the locomotive to its destination near City Hall, careful to avoid manholes and curbs that might buckle under the weight. The move was slow, tense, and methodical. Every decision shaped by the need to protect both the machine and the fragile infrastructure beneath it. As the locomotive settled into position, the crew prepared for the next phase, connecting the engine's generator to the isolated municipal grid. The street scarred but intact.
The new Canadian government just released a brand new series available on the website where they look into Canadian correctional facilities. Some clear why they decided to make the series, perhaps humanize the correctional officers or to try to give us an insight on the life of prisoners, which they like to show us receive stopped talking, he asked me if I was done. And I said, well, what do you mean? So just a long pause, and basically he went straight to the point. Today we meet up with Correctional Manager J.P. Bernard, who is halfway through his 12-hour shift. He spent the morning overseeing the structured intervention unit, and now he's on Hi, I'm JP. I'm the Correctional Manager here at the Within each unit, there are various ranges. Each range that has a full 360-degree view of all the ranges on the unit. From here, staff control everything from opening and locking doors to inmate movements and calling in correctional officers when an incident happens. My first day of work. Wow. It's been a while, but I think the best word to describe it was overwhelming. I applied for corrections. I thought to myself, well, this is something that's challenging. This is something interesting, and I felt my interest in it growing. And since December of 2005, I've been employed as a correctional officer at the Wellington Institution. I got myself being strongly overwhelmed in my first days here. Now I look back at it and
This program shows drugs being made, sold, and used. It features graphic content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Vancouver, Canada. Rated the best place to live in North America. But the leafy suburbs conceal a thriving drug industry.
This is flooded with cocaine, and we want to sell them more. We want to make more money.
Where rival gangs are in a bitter turf war.
2 men were shot last night.
So you said 4 shootings in the last 48 hours? And looking for guns. Now the bloodshed's forcing independent dealers downtown.
People pushing thousands of dollars in a weekend.
With the cops in hot pursuit.
It's all about money in this business. It's all about money. You can't care about other people because you're selling cocaine. It's heartless, and we want to sell more.
Drew is a dealer who sells in the wealthy Vancouver suburb of Surrey, just 10 miles southeast from downtown.
The truth is, in Surrey, it's all about product and territory and young guys killing each other. The cops are busting down on everyone a lot more. 10 shootings happen in Surrey. They're going to crack down even in Vancouver.
in the middle between gangs and cops are independent dealers.
I'm not in a gang, but the turf war does affect us in the sense that, when all these shootings are happening, the cops are busting down on everyone a lot more. We could be out for dinner or out at clubs, and gang squad will roll through and kick us all out. Definitely it affects everyone, even if we're not directly gang affiliated.
There has been another targeted shooting in Surrey overnight. It's the city's 5th incident involving gun violence since Monday evening.
The bloodshed's due in part to a gangland power grab. At the end of the 2000s, the gangs running Vancouver faced a reckoning. With most of their bosses either dead, imprisoned, or retired. A new generation of South Asian gangbangers now dominates the city's cocaine business. 5 shootings in Surrey since Monday night. We know of 3 victims. But there's a new player on the block. The Somalis. And they're demanding a piece of the action. This is where the latest victim was found. A 28-year-old man from Langley laying on the ground around midnight, suffering from a gunshot wound to his leg. The man gunned down is known to the police.
Police aren't looking for the white SUV.
Victims don't want to cooperate. Won't give us an idea as to who possibly might have done it. So it's really something you got to piece together. Corporal Beauregard is on the hunt for the suspect's white SUV. We're gonna head to one of these guys who's involved in a shooting. So we're gonna go see if he's home. Touch him up and see if there's anything he wants to tell us. He's looking for a South Asian gangbanger. The 2 gangs are fighting each other for control of a lucrative cocaine market. That could be worth millions. This is kind of like the divider. So back there is Vancouver. Now we're going to be going into like $1 million home territory here in Surrey. Guns settle scores between the gangs. Anyone caught in a crossfire is simply collateral damage. People shooting at each other from different vehicles. The possibility for someone walking down the street or one of those to carry in through a bedroom window is pretty high. Beauregard is part of British Columbia's Gang Enforcement Squad, a crack group of officers set up to counter escalating violence. There's had like 4 shootings in the last 48 hours. Stuff to figure out what's going on right now. Intel has thrown up a list of addresses for Beauregard to check. He's all too familiar with the telltale signs of gang involvement. If your kid doesn't have a job, and he's paying for his own car, and it's like maybe one of these Range Rovers and BMWs, he seems to have lots of money to spare. I think it's not a very hard leap to figure out what he's doing, right? So Jaguar, Beamer. And there's a lot of cars here. I'm gonna get through in here. Try the back. That's just the garage, isn't it? The street here resembles a luxury car dealership, but no white SUV. And the house is locked up. No check. No check. This is a bedroom. No check. Okay. There's like 3 cars in there. They can't enter the property. Okay, next one.
Here's a simple Christian-centered online business that you haven't heard of before, and it's built to bless your community. I'm Douglas James, and this isn't
Squatters.
This guy just literally broke down my door. You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. You want to go home?
This is Seattle, Washington, a city where you can legally steal other people's homes. Are they going to pay your legal fees?
Off the property.
Are you you gonna pay rent this month?
If you're on vacation, they can come. Anyone can stay.
How is this legally even possible?
They fully moved there. They had suitcases, bags, they had food in the fridge. Our children were traumatized by this experience.
It goes back to the old times where it's like when you showed up and you took some land, I feel like that's the times we're getting back to.
Being arrested
For what?
for being in my own home.
If the woman says it's her property and he says he lives here and she says they're squatting, she'd have to go to court and go through the entire legal process to have him.
But I live here now.
Oh, you do?
Sure.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
It's a civil problem.
This state is so broken. Oh my God. If the owner of the property sees this, what's a message you'd like to give to him? It seems like sorry. I headed to the epicenter of the crisis, Seattle, Washington, to meet up with local journalist Jonathan Cho to see what's going on. He's been exposing the squatting epidemic and the broken laws protecting them, starting with Sang Kim. He recently made national headlines for $1 million property in Bellevue, Washington. After the entire neighborhood banded together to shame Kim out of the neighborhood, Seattle's Housing Justice Project paid $88,000 in delinquent rent for Kim to his missed rent out of taxpayer dollars.
How much longer are you going to be staying here, sir?
He eventually dropped paying rent. He's exploiting the system.
Why is Kim still squatting in this house? And why won't he sit?
Morning, Jonathan. Hey, what's up? Back at the scene of the crime, man. So, right behind us, we have a beautiful view in a nice-ass neighborhood. How much are these houses? I mean, on average, $2 to $3 million. This is the elite Woodridge neighborhood with gorgeous skylines of downtown Bellevue. I mean, everyone wants to live here. And when I mentioned squatters to you, you said, you gotta come down here. I have a story for you. And then I saw the story pop up on my Twitter feed. You can't make this stuff up. It's now a global story. I mean, you've got Daily Mail on this. You've got The Mirror, The Sun, National guy, Kim, who's been staying at this house now for more than 2 years now, and he hasn't paid a single penny of rent after the first month, that is. So we're going to knock on Kim's door right now, ask him if he's going to pay this upcoming rent. So right in front of us, we have 2 no trespassing, 3 no trespassing signs, car parked right in front. The problem now here in Washington is that the homeowner, Joshua Robinson, even if he wants to evict the guy, there's a backlog of eviction cases in court. It's a broken system. If Kim doesn't pay in May, Singh says he will start the eviction process for the 4th time. There have been nearly 2 months of protests, public shaming of Kim to get out, but still, Kim is hunkering down. So Kim did in fact eventually pay the amount he was owed. Housing Justice Project used taxpayer dollars. That's the key, and he knows the system so well that he can take advantage of it. But before I confront the squatter, let's talk to the homeowner. There he is. I'm here with just Karan Singh. Singh, you own this home, right? Yes, sir. How much does this home cost?
Right now, value is close to $2 million. So I lived in this country 18 years. This is my second investment property, and it took me a while. It's my hard-earned money invested here.
And who currently lives in this home?
He's a squatter. He has been exploiting the system since 1996. He has done multiple scams. And being an immigrant, I was tricked by him. And I trusted him and his family to give him on a rent. But he's not living for the last 2 years. And he's exploiting the system.
How did it go down?
He paid the first month, and the second month, and the last month as a security deposit. And he didn't pay afterwards.
Okay.
4th eviction if he doesn't pay the rent next week.
So when you say 4th eviction, what does that even mean? I would assume the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd would get him out of the house.
That means there's a housing justice project. The system is protecting basically. He's paying his rent to our taxpayer money. He's getting a lawyers from our taxpayer money. He's milking the system, and we need to stop it.
How much money have you lost on the property since he's been in here?
It's a lawyer fee close to $35,000. So the rent is paid, but the rental, I live with 1,000 feet from the property, and I can't drive on this road. I can't walk in some.
Legally cannot drive through this road.
Yeah, legally I was not able to till last Wednesday. And this should be a message to all the squatters that we will get you.
We will get you.
We'll get you. Enough is enough. If you vacation, they can come. Anyone can say. So watch out, guys. It's what I expected. And people from India, Australia, England, friends, relatives, they're calling me. They're saying, what? This is what's happening in America?
Do you think he'll pay rent this month?
I have no idea.
So I knock on the door and ask him?
Go ahead.
But before I knocked on Kim's door, I wondered, what does the neighborhood think about this? This is a nice neighborhood you guys live in.
Yeah.
My name's Tyler, by the way.
Jeff,
how much do houses typically go for around here?
recently there's been some selling for 2.5, 3. New houses are going for almost 4.
Do you own a home out here?
Yes. This one right behind me.
How would you feel if someone moved into your home when you were on vacation and refused to leave?
That would be unbelievable. I don't know what I would do. I would probably first call the police to see if they could be removed, but with the situation we have across the street, obviously that's not a deal.
The law is on the homeowner's side here in Washington?
No, not currently, because we thought, once we own this house, if we could afford to hang on to it, we'd like to rent it out. But after the last year, this guy across the street, we thought differently about that. I don't understand why he's been able to remain in there. I understand there's a housing project that will pay his rent, but I think the taxpayers are the ones paying for that money. It's going to him.
Sure. Do you think the laws in Washington should change as it relates to squatting?
Absolutely. I think King County needs to do a lot of stuff. Ever since they started making drugs legal over there in Seattle and stuff, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we're considering moving out of this state.
All right, hold on in. So this is where it gets weird. I don't know if Kim will come to the door if I'm there. Give me a little bit. What was that? We're here with the press. We're just seeing if we could talk to you about the squatting situation. Okay, we're wondering if are you going to pay rent this month?
Can you please get off the property?
Yeah, well, we got authorization from the landlord to come. Sure.
I'm the one who's leaving you. Get off the property.
Okay, is HJP going to pay your legal fees this month?
Please.
Are they going to pay your legal
Get
fees?
off the property.
Sure, no, we will leave, but we're just wondering if you're going to pay your rent and redeem yourself.
That's my business, not yours.
Okay. Well, taxpayers' business, right?
No, it's not.
What if the taxpayers are paying your legal fees? No.
Hi, welcome to today's video and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be talking to the changes of the Canada Pension Plan for 2026. Some things are over, some things are ending, some things are changing. I'm going to explain what they all are, what they mean to you. I'm going to share with you actually in different age groups, what does it mean to you?
All right, well, here's the thing I want to emphasize, that from his perspective, he's the victim. He's always framed himself as the victim, as this Korean national who's just trying to live the American dream. He's not trying to hurt anybody, but in fact, everyone's hurt him. And he uses, Mr. Singh as an example of a landlord who never fixed any of the appliances and just would constantly pressure him. But as you know, Singh also had a temporary protection order filed against him by Mr. Kim, and Singh prevailed. He won in court. There's no world where Jaskaran could come in here, change the locks, and make him leave. That's not going to happen because I think that's against the law here in Washington State now. He would go to jail. He would go to prison. Since filming this, Sang Kim has refused to pay rent on time again. Jaskaran will be moving forward with his eviction attempt. After meeting the intermediate squatter Kim, what does the beginner squatter look like? I met up with Andrea Suarez, founder of We Heart Seattle, who said she knew where we could find some squatters nearby.
Up until recently, this building was used as a squatter's haven, and just recently fenced off, and recently we're seeing action here where it's being finally demolished. This was, I guess, had been squatted in for months. The neighbors had called multiple 911s, multiple fires. Nothing was ever done about it. The police couldn't really do anything about trespassing because it's on private property. You can see all the boards, all the access points, the broken windows. I'm sure there was working plumbing, showers.
You see anything going on here as it relates to squatting?
Like, I have noticed that, this house has been pretty much squatted or unoccupied for, the last 2 years I've lived here.
2 years?
Yeah, I've literally never, ever seen anyone live here or, anyone actually own the house, it seems like.
What are your thoughts on squatter rights here in Seattle?
I think it's a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. I just think they have a little too much rights for what it is. People work hard to own a house like this, and to literally, if they're just looking to rent it out and they can't find someone to rent, rent's ridiculously expensive right now, so it's just someone can pretty much just hop into a lot of these houses. A lot of them are unoccupied, and I think that's a little ridiculous for how hard a lot of people around here are probably expensive. A lot of these houses, property is like that.
What do we got?
Alright, this one's abandoned here.
Is the squatter inside? Oh, this one looks like it's open.
Yeah, it looks pretty active, maybe. I don't know. Okay, that looks, no, it's a dead end. See the roof.
Yeah, this is a nightmare, man, for all the neighbors who have to live next to these empty houses that are probably set for demolition. And the squatters know where to go, and people live in here. And, there's no heat, there's no electricity, so you've got to stay warm, right? So you start fires. And that's why you have all these scorch marks on pretty much much every single structure here.
It's the fire, the murder, the body, the outrage by neighbors, calls to the mayor, media that is in critical mass is finally when there's action. Tragedy always has to happen multiple times before action has been taken, and thankfully we're seeing that action being taken now. We've cleared over 1.2 million pounds of trash. We found 12 dead bodies, and we've helped hundreds of people off the streets into detox, back home, back to mom, back to grandma, back to their families, get clean and sober, get a job, because it doesn't seem like any other social service wants to do anything but enable addiction.
I live right here. That's what I was out there. Like, this is someone's property. Right next to them, active squatters, active fire, building getting shut down. Is that a body was found out here? Yeah, bodies usually get dumped. These empty houses, abandoned buildings. So who knows what's going on in these places. Right now it's boarded up, but I truly believe within a matter of weeks, somebody's going to try to go back in. I mean, if you peer through the window there, it's like freshly boarded up. We're going to go to another property where active squatting is going down and meet a guy named Cesar, the king himself. Looks like she's found out where it is. Got Benito caps. I think we've arrived. Watch your back. Don't get mugged. Use common sense. Genuinely, I don't trust this. Remember the last squatter motel? Yep. The hilltop? Just a few hundred feet down. Right over there. Next to all these squatter houses. It makes all the sense. This is where we pulled over, found the guys. It burned down. But urine bag here. Wow. There's urine bags.
Cesar, welfare check.
Several houses on this side of the road alone. Look. Hey, you okay? Oh, you're back. Yeah, hey. Right there. Whoa. What's up? How you doing, bro? Nice. We didn't know if you were alive.
I'm alive. I went to work on that.
Hard, bro. Dude, we gotta talk. Last time we saw you, you were in the building right now, bro. Dude, we meet again. This is Cesar. 4 months ago, Jonathan and I found him squatting in this abandoned building, and 11 days later, the building was found to have burned down. I had no clue what happened to him since, and the viewers loved him.
Oh,
you got all your tools.
I don't boss. My Ray-Bans right here, my Ray-Bans. This is what I'm going to make my fortune.
Are you concerned about this right here, the propane thing? No?
No, man. I got firefighting training, like.
Really?
I got a lot of skills, right?
Dude, how did it go? What happened to us, right? Yeah. Yeah, me and Tyler. Where you at? Can we see what's going on?
Right next voice.
Yeah.
So I'm now. So just mind your clothes, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Hurt. Andrea. So we met the man who we spoke to in the building that burned down. I want to hear your story, man. What happened to the building?
He was gay, bro. You want to do gay stuff with me?
Oh, he was trying to smash?
Yeah, and I was like, I'd rather burn in hell. And he tried to burn me, huh?
Trying to kill you?
I assume.
He tried to kill you in the fire?
He lit the fire, bro.
He lit the fire to spite you because you guys wouldn't have gay sex?
I don't know, bro. I haven't been like,
he might not even be alive. Cesar, we have so many people on the internet that have believed in you, wanted to hear what happened to you. We found you. We know you were Cesar.
I knew you guys were going to find me because this is the way it works, bro. You know, that's how I work.
Cesar, 10 million people saw you, and you saw the video, right?
What am I supposed to do, bro? Hop on that taxi? What? I'm over here chilling, dude. All this right here is all done for that.
Wow. This is the most unexpected reunited moment of all time. We never saw we'd see you again. So we got wet paint. I just want to establish the size of you. You've been grinding since we last saw you.
See right here, like, I don't have cable. I can't afford it.
So tell me about your project in here. It's blue. It's nicely painted.
Well, first I painted it white. I wanted white on white.
I want to hear a story here. Yeah,
but then I ran out of paint. What are you supposed to do? So
let it be known you have like $1 million view right here. That's badass, dude.
I know.
Have you spoken to the owner?
Man, you guys are crazy, dog. You were trying to knock down the door. I was like, I recognized your voice and what you were talking about. I was like, oh, that's that fool.
So actually, I want to bring this up, Cesar.
Wait, look what it says in the corner. The footage of the house burning is from a John show.
Wait, can you use footage? He chose footage.
Yeah.
That means he was the first.
He was the first person there. After all the shit I've seen in this video, I'm going to say, just my opinion, not real. These guys burned these men alive.
What actually happened?
You know, the toilet place is backwards down there, so I don't know.
I remember last time we saw all the porn on the wall. Was that you or
the
guy?
Other fool. So that's what he was inspiring to be like.
Oh, the woman. He wanted to be the woman.
Dude, yeah, so he was like. I thought he was just weird. You're in Seattle, bro. He's a lot of weird shit, bro.
I actually made a comment. I said, at least you're straight, but that guy wasn't straight.
No, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, shit.
So you know you're squatting then, right?
I'm not supposed to do that. I don't know what you're doing.
Can you give us a tour? Hustle around, bro. Looking for rebudgeting club. Caesar, you're a hustler, man. Yep. Another, once again, sick view right here. What do you think this property is worth, Caesar? This is sick. It's pretty sick, bro. Miller too? I don't know, bro. I'm hoping that you press the property owner when he comes to you now. If the owner of the property sees this, what's a message you'd like to give to him? Seems like you're I'm here to do this for me and my future. This is just the best I can come up with as far as showcasing my skills, yeah? They know how to do that. Oh, you got a trap phone too? That's the state phone. This one's a big Nari. Yeah. That's turn off the speaker.
By the night, no fires, no parties, so your added security was blocked.
He was like, the other day, he was like, thank you, and I was like,
Oh,
that's interesting.
Better to have a known neighbor and resident than revolving doors. So you're holding down the fort.
All those little
And that door stays locked at night?
all the time. Yeah. So all those little things add up to confidence and trust, and those are the things that a painter needs from his client.
And he's speaking business needs right now. You got all your tools back too? Get the You are dripped out, Caesar. Ari blasting in the background and a baseball cap collection that would make Lids jealous. Caesar was renovating the abandoned building and ready to leave if and when the owner asked him to. In this scenario, unlike Sang Kim and Bellevue, landowners might actually benefit from having a guy like Caesar live full-time in this abandoned building until they want it back, assuming he's responsible and doesn't burn the place down. Caesar, it's been a pleasure, man. What happens when you buy a home as an old tenant who's been living in there rent-free for the last 2 years, who refuses to leave, leaving you with $1.4 million less dollars, stuck with legal fees in court for the last 8 months, and forcing you and your 4 kids to move in with your mom and dad? Well, that's allegedly the case of our alleged white-collar squatter, Steve Hickey. We just want to take a look at the squatting epidemic in the United States, but this is unique because we have a guy in a position of power relative to
Over 100 delicious recipes to choose from each week. HelloFresh makes every meal taste like
doing well for himself. He's not some degenerate, jobless bum breaking into someone's house. This is a well-known figure in the community. Is he legally allowed to be there right now? Based on what I can tell, I mean, the answer is no. Just for the viewers out there, a month or 2 ago, I called someone out as a scammer, and it turns out they weren't exactly a scammer. So coming into this situation, I'm a little bit skeptical. I want to make sure this guy is, in fact, innocent until proven guilty. We want to hear both sides fully and then come to it. Yeah, and this is really complicated for me as well. I was a little hesitant to take on this story, and frankly, I don't know where it's going to go, because it's still early on. He's not only an industry colleague, I would consider him a friend. Somebody who's given me news tips, somebody who's helped out in the field, like one of the nicest guys you'll meet. But the allegations are just too ridiculous now to ignore. So as a journalist, I've just got to be objective now. He has more than 1 million followers on all of his social media platforms, and he's just well respected, and he does decent work, especially during a time when American journalism is in decline. Frankly, I've called him several times already and had private conversations, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if these are true, these allegations that is, but if they are, you gotta settle these. I just try to walk them off the cliff and say, look, man, it's not worth your career. He knows the law, he knows how to take advantage of the system. Before confronting Steve at his own garage sale, Jonathan and I were invited to a victims party hosted by several alleged victims of Steve, appearing in person and on Zoom. I'm here with Steve. And what did Steve do to you?
Steve failed to meet his contractual requirement.
Hey, we're in Buffalo today. Well, be enraged to find that I am not eating chicken wings today. That's because, sadly, there are no chicken wing eating challenges in Buffalo, believe it or not. Apart from spicy ones, which naturally I tend to avoid. Probably should do another spicy one at some point. I know a lot of people find it highly entertaining to see me riding around in complete agony, but not today. What I'm going to try and do today is this. Which is on the menu at what is essentially a comic book shop. combo. We take half a medium pizza, cheese and pepperoni, pile on top 1 pound of chopped Brooklyn steak, nice. Fire roasted peppers, grilled onions, Montreal cheese, and spicy French fries. They do top off with some garlic bread there. Also the great cinema garlic bread. 7,322 challenges. Then you take over the 40 minutes. And it's free, no? Yeah, I can do it.
I think you can.
Yeah? You look a little skeptical.
I haven't seen many people win, so.
You haven't seen many people win?
Only 2, so.
Challenge. Right, there it is. It is interesting, that's for sure. Alright, today at a place called Say Cheese Pizza, which is in Grand Island, New York, near Buffalo, right? And I'm taking on the Pizzasaurus Rex Challenge, which is you get 40 minutes to finish this. If you do so, it's free and you get a t-shirt. Yeah? And 7,322 people have done this. Try it. Yeah? Going out on this on menu, and like 30 people have done it. And part of the prize. Oh my god, right, so that's what makes it difficult, I get it. Thank you. 40 minutes, yeah? I get it, it's strict. Alright, I'm gonna eat the fries last time because I bet they're gonna be spicy. Yeah? Alright, let's do it. Take the sticks out first. Yes, sensible way to begin. So, what's called Say Cheese Pizza today, which is inside a comic book shop, bar, restaurant, and arcade, all rolled into one. We're taking into the Pizzasaurus Rex Challenge. The garlic bread is fine. Yes, the primary concern for me here was how spicy the fries in this thing would be. Of course, it's a piece of meat, but that's the real quality. I don't know what to do next. I thought this is an oven loop now, watch the fries. I'm gonna push them off. Just for now. We got the steak and cheese underneath. It doesn't seem to have absorbed too much of the spice. It's on the chips. I think it's got to get stuck in there. Just a smidge off of it. Never a little bit. It's gonna be okay though. Yeah, I realise that is probably something anticlimactic, especially given how many people failed. It's maybe like habanero. You and 3 of you, buddy. True. I hope you didn't leave any. They're not too bad. It's unpleasantly spicy, but it's not getting. I was worried there for a second. Caking the whole thing with it, which for a West Side made is great. Alright. open?
Yeah, of course. I'll be right back. Our fried Oreos are now on the special board. And then we have our fried dough fries. Our fried dough fries. And also here we have our strawberry sauce. And then we have some cinnamon sticks.
The cinnamon sticks sound delicious. Can I get some of those? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want your players?
Yeah, sure, yeah. Moment of truth. It's not too bad. I didn't make too much from this.
I don't want to follow you on, TikTok and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. My name's Luke.
Cool, nice to meet you. Supposed to eat all of that? That is a cool one. What's this on the back?
Say cheese pizza.
Perfect.
Butter, Palo Cafe on the sleeves.
I like that one. That's one of the better ones that I've done. That's cool.
Yeah, this is his own homemade, like, Sabiro. He makes those Sabiros. The very first Sabiro that he made.
Well, it looks suitably intimidating.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Here you go.
Appreciate
Is that
it.
this size?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Already had a piece, but didn't have the mic on. Like an idiot. So there you go. I enjoy one of these juicy, buttery, crispy cinnamon stick things. Which is basically just some pizza dough with cinnamon and some syrup on there, I think. Yummy though. It's not a piece. Kind of like a slightly crispier version of French toast. Really dipped in some type of egg cream mix. I think it was a bit reductive before. It's not just a piece of bits. There were a lot of them, but they were delicious. Were they dipped in like, they're like French toast?
We have our homemade, I don't even know what kind of sauce it is.
Some type of secret sauce.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, it's good. Yes. I would never waste food. Never. You know what people never talk about? That when Bama transforms into Hulk, his pants stale. Why do his pants stale? And why do they not rip? Look at the side. His legs are like my torso. Makes no sense. But then, Metal's being exposed to gamma ray powers rather than just melting either. Okay. Time to go home now. That's a suspicious looking stain, mate. What you got to say for yourself? Huh?
What are all those feathers for?
Male peacocks with the biggest, brightest tails have the best chance of catching a female's eye.
Caught mine.
Shouldn't your phone still try to impress you? Google Pixel 10 on TELUS, the network with a 5-year plan price off.
Like many people, the morning is the most horrifying part of the day. It's because I have this superstition that how my eggs are cooked will define the rest of my day. So,
just look like a souped-up tractor, but this is a kind of Canadian hero, a 5,000-pound hero that can revolutionize rescue efforts in Ontario. And it's the new love of Rahul Singh's life.
These are beasts, like they're extreme all-terrain vehicles.
Singh is the founder of Global Medic, a disaster relief charity based in Toronto. He is a recently retired paramedic who founded the group back in 1998. Since then, Global Medic has helped 6 million people in 90 countries with the help of 7,000 volunteers across Canada. And for the ones based in Ontario, at least, this tractor is going to make their work easier.
So what's behind you? This one's called the Argo Sasquatch. This, to me, is the future. At Global Medic, we always want to innovate as part of our way of getting the right aid to the right people at the right time. That's the next-gen innovation for us.
The Sasquatch can swim, climb, and cut through snow and ice, invaluable features for a Canadian rescue machine.
We know with climate change, we get these significant weather events. So if people are trapped by snow, and we got to get in and rescue them, sure, we can come in by snowmobile, right? We can pull drivers off the highway. Can't pull her out on a snowmobile. Make sure you grab it and you're going to this side.
We go for a test drive with Rahul on a farm field about an hour north of Toronto.
Perfect. You're in? All right.
Inside, a computer that controls key functions, like deflating tires for more traction on terrain that's especially challenging.
So now you want to go to trail? You either push there or there.
So there you go. Automatically adjust the tire pressure?
Yeah.
It's a feature we needed when we got into a tough spot.
There you go. And look at it. It's incredible.
Requiring a 180-degree turn.
It's almost like it's got legs, right? And it's just slowly going from one side to the other.
Don't you think you should be driving into that ditch?
The $250,000 dynamo is funded by the Ontario government, and you might be surprised to learn that the Sasquatch is made right here in Canada.
This completed machine weighs just over 5,000 pounds.
The factory employs about 150 workers, but despite their product's capabilities, because of U.S. tariffs on raw materials, they've had to pass on higher costs to buyers and lay off about 5% of their workforce.
We've had a slight reduction in some of our labor. Everyone's happy to be here. We're making a good product. So we know that it's serving the greater good out there in the marketplace, but still apprehension is on everyone's mind on what the future holds.
The company says they have something to look forward to. The head of sales says the rest of the world is noticing them.
Where have you been able to branch out and sort of make some inroads?
Europe, Australia, New Zealand, countries around the world. We're definitely seeing business pick up.
We've got one and I want more.
But if Rahul Singh has a say, the Sasquatch is a homegrown machine that should pique interest right here in Canada.
Whether it's the storms, whether it's the snow, the ice storm, or the flooding, we know more people will be in harm's way. We're going to be responding a lot more and helping people. We're going to need better tools right here in Ontario. So we should be using the Ontario-made solution for right here in Ontario.
If you're a Christian thinking about starting a franchise business, don't. I'm Douglas James, and just imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that your income isn't limited by your time anymore. I'm Douglas James, and this is a dropshipping podcast. Sketchy.
strawberry cheesecake moonshine from Alberta. Creamy moonshine from the Krabby Goat. Canada is a make-believe country. Let's make poor decisions. You know, at the beginning I should have said Maple Leaf country. What a perfect pour. Sniff test. Strawberry cream savers. Milk. That's sort of cheesecake-esque. Goat Boja. Whoa. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, this is smooth. This is smooth. This is smooth. This is all that working. Double Goat Boja. It's as good as it was 28 seconds ago. Is it good? Absolutely yes. Is it $34? Right on the table. Give me your money again. Need money on sale extra warm today. 10 out of 10. This is strawberry cheesecake moonshine from Alberta. Creamy moonshine from the Krabby Goat. Canada is a make-believe country. Let's make poor decisions. You know, at the beginning I should have said Maple Leaf country.
We say when somebody tries to talk to us first thing in the morning.
You think the room is empty? That's only what your eyes can see.
This guy takes a real spur and starts rubbing it against his face.
I get a lot of questions about
If we stopped fishing the ocean for 8 years, it would be back to nearly 100% pronounced. 100% perfect. Nearly. We'd have to get all the countries in the world. Yeah, that means for 8 years all the fish would starve. And not to mention, fish is the primary source of protein for like the majority of the planet. Is it? It is, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's certainly everywhere coastal. But the majority of the planet's majority of protein comes from fish. And we are widely.
it's gonna take all day. It's gonna be worth it.
Iron sharpens iron. I choose to speak to high frequency.
Yeah.
If you can't point to my cup, your cup's empty. What are we doing?
Right. Now do me a favor. I want you to break down the high frequency men just for people watching so they understand what you're meaning by that.
What I mean is, you have to be at a higher standard. I don't want just low hanging fruit. I want somebody who has been through it, who knows it, somebody who is faith-based. You know, teach me out of the Bible. Don't just teach me out of the world. Iron sharpens iron. I choose to speak to high frequency men. You know?
Yeah.
If you can't point to my cup, your cup's empty. What are we doing?
Right. Now do me a favor. I want you.
This is what made Chris Kyle
Get ready to deliver.
You probably wouldn't expect it, but a retired airplane can actually be worth more than $3 million.
Victor Echo 1, Alpha Charlie.
Who has a crush on me?
Do you know just how tough an airplane's black box really is? It's so strong that even industrial cutting machines struggle to break it open, and a regular saw is basically useless against it. Engineers build it this extreme for one reason. The black box records everything the aircraft says in its final moments. In many crashes, it's the only clue investigators have to figure out what really happened. That's also why black boxes are usually installed in the tail of the plane. Statistically, this section has a better chance of surviving a crash. The casing itself is made from multiple layers of high-strength titanium.
1969.
My son.
Which K-pop demon?
fired him and everyone else who works for your father yesterday.
Now! I'm Kale. I have two questions for you, Kale. Then you can go. Why is it that my dad's mechanic makes the coffee? Why is it that without you, the coffee tastes like crap?
It's easy. Let's show you.